Hi, I'm Gordon from Camera Labs. It's February in Yokohama, Japan, which means only one thing. It's time for the annual CP Plus exhibition where all of the big imaging companies show their new cameras and lenses. It's been a bumper year so far, so let me take you inside and show you the highlights. Fujifilm is of course showing its entire range of X, GFX and Instax products. Here's the most recent XM5. You can see it here really rigged up for vloggers, including the optional cooling fan on the back here. Over on the Nikon stand, we have the fruits of their partnership with RED, most visibly here with the new Z-mount 28 to 135mm f4 cinema lens mounted on a RED cinema camera. I think that is a Commodore X. If you fancy a drink or perhaps a lens, there's the Nikon Z lens bar. I took a while to warm to it, but I think of all of the retro-styled cameras around right now, Nikon actually really nailed it with the ZF and the ZFC alongside it. It's a really smart-looking camera, available in multiple finishes here. I'm rather fond of this bright orange one. Which is your favourite? Or if you're after something a bit racier, here's the smaller ZFC. That's a rather fancy finish. What about these guys up here? It's not just about cameras and lenses. Here on the Kenko stand, we've got a nice series of telescopes. I really must get back into my Astro again. If you want to do some tracked exposures with a load that's not too heavy, how about this Sky Memo? On the Zeiss stand, the new Otus 50mm 1.4. This is available in Canon RF, which you can see here. Also Nikon Z and Sony E mounts. It has quite a reputation to follow. Those original Otus lenses for DSLRs were pretty spectacular, so we'll see if these new ones can live up to those expectations. If you're into anamorphic lenses, Samyang's VAF 1.7x MF adapter is an interesting solution. I believe pairing with 35, 45, 75 and 100mm options. Here is one of those combinations in action on a Sony logoless body. That's quite an old Sony body, isn't it? A7 II. Over on the Panasonic stand, all eyes are of course on the brand new Lumix S1R Mark II, which you can see here. I've actually used this camera for some time now, and I've got a fairly detailed first looks video for you on my channel if you'd like to find out more. One of the pretty unique features on Lumix cameras that not a lot of people talk about is the hybrid zoom feature. I've tested this in particular on my 18-40 lens review, and it just really seamlessly extends the range of your zoom with minimal to no apparent loss of quality when you're filming video. And this is the man who invented it, so congratulations sir, you did a great job. Another really cool feature on the Lumix S1R Mark II is cropper stabilization, I believe invented by this engineer here. Congratulations to you too. It effectively gives you digital stabilization without a crop, and it does that by using spare pixels that are normally used or also used for distortion correction on the lenses. I've got a demonstration of that in my Lumix S1R Mark II first looks review, so do check that out. It is very interesting. I always enjoy the timeline of products on the Lumix stand. The G1 there from 2008, GH1, GF1, that was pretty sweet. The GH2 in 2010, but it's not until we reach 2013 for the GM series here, still looking absolutely gorgeous 12 years later. And this is the kind of product that I think people are really clamoring for right now, a small but attractive, powerful system camera with a decent sized sensor inside. And the question that everybody asks, and the one that I ask Panasonic every time I get the chance, is why don't you just put a new sensor in this camera already and sell it to us? But it turns out it is not quite that simple, because if you were to put the latest sensor in there, you would need to couple it with the latest image processor, which in turn would require a decent sized battery. All of these things are larger and generate more heat, which requires a bigger body, blah, blah, blah. You're beginning to understand why it becomes a challenge to implement the current technology in an older, smaller body like this. So I fear that it may not happen. I really hope that I'm proven wrong and that I'm completely incorrect here, because I would love to see a modern GM series camera. But in the meantime, if you like it, I think you're gonna have to pick one up on eBay or in some second-hand shop. Sad face. On the Tamron stand, the 11 to 20mm f2.8 here in the Canon RF fit, but far more exciting in front, the eternal battle between Godzilla and Mechagodzilla. Who will win? Japan, land of the Shinkansen, the famous bullet train, seen here from an elevated position. Oh wow, this is an absolutely amazing display. But if this isn't impressive enough for you, check this out. That looks like a mini Yamanote line. Let's chase it. My favorite metro train in Tokyo. Toy cameras are increasingly popular in Japan. This series from Pint Kids work out about £40 or $50 each. And the ones above a little bit more expensive. They're about £50 each. Now, if you've got kids who you want to get into photography, I'd be really interested to hear what solution you have for them, whether you would buy them like a toy camera similar to this, or maybe just let them play with one of your current or older models, or maybe a vintage one, a second hand. You know I can't resist a telescope, and this is an absolute beauty on the Askar stand. That is a 203mm apochromatic. 203, that is 8 inches, which is absolutely huge for a refracting telescope. This bad boy will set you back 1.5 million yen, or a mere 10,000 US dollars, which, believe it or not, is actually not too bad for this kind of instrument, although you are going to need to put it on a rather substantial mount. I would love to try this out for some planetary observations. Amazing stuff. Over on the OM system stand, in a suitably natural looking environment, is the latest OM3 with its rather attractive top plate. This is the answer to anyone who said, why don't we have a new pen? Well, we didn't quite get that. It is an OM head, but we do have the creative dial on the front, and it really is an attractive system camera. If you'd like to find out more about it, I have a detailed first looks review on my channel. On the DJI stand, I'm just going to draw your attention to the Osmo Pocket 3 here, not because it's new, but because it's what I'm actually filming with right now. And I still reckon 1 year after I bought it that this is still one of the best vlogging or content creating cameras on the market. And since we're on the DJI stand, let's have a look at a Hasselblad camera. This is the most recent 907X and CFV100C, which I reviewed earlier last year. If you're into audio, you'll already know about the Tascam XLR adapter that mounts onto a number of multi-interface shoes. There's the Canon version, Fujifilm, and OM system next to it. If you're into macro photography, there are a few lens companies putting more effort into close-up products than Laowa right now. Look at this 24mm f14 2x macro probe lens. Laowa was also showing an 8 to 15mm f2.8 fisheye zoom for full-frame cameras. This reminds me of that lens that Canon did a while ago, except that this is designed for native mirrorless cameras. And that most rare things these days, a tilt-shift lens designed for mirrorless systems. This is a 35mm f2.8 with a 0.5x macro facility. Angelbird was showing its latest CF Express memory cards, Type B and Type A, and also some very stylish card readers here available for SD, CF Express A and CF Express B. I always enjoy seeing the industrial measuring equipment at CP Plus, and Kyoritsu here has got a really interesting machine that can test shutter speeds on old film cameras. So let's see it in action. This is the first curtain, the second curtain, and this is the actual measured shutter speed. And here, this instrument for measuring timing, this one for noise, and we've got a dynamic range wedge here. And as you saw last year, I visited one of the largest resolution charts that I've ever seen. I've got one of these, but it's only about A3 in size. This one is huge. If you're into astro imaging, ZWO have got you covered with their range of dedicated cameras. It looks like these have all, or at least mostly, switched over to CMOS technology. They believe that it is delivering a better result than the old CCD sensors that were very popular in this category. And here's a rather cute tracking system here. Maybe I should be reviewing telescopes rather than cameras. A nice selection of straps at CP Plus this year. These from Yosemite. And from Escura next door, We've got some really interesting looking straps here. I really like this one with all these old cameras on it. I don't think they're for cameras though. I think it's more for holding your baggage together when you're traveling. Have you ever held your fingers like this when you're trying to frame a shot? Then this new digital camera from Escura could be for you. It's like a little picture frame that you hold up. It's got a tiny digital camera sensor in it, I think 1.3 megapixels. Yes. You can see it right there. Stores the pictures on micro SD at the bottom, and you frame it using this, this clear guide. And the expected price for it is going to be about 5,000 yen, so that's approximately £30. And also from Escura, this tiny, tiny, tiny camera. At first I thought it was a toy, maybe a key ring, but it is in fact a working digital camera. Another 1.3 megapixels? Yes. Micro SD?
Yes.
Absolutely amazing. It really is actually taking pictures and video as well. Expected price about 5,000 yen, so again about £30. Fun stuff. TT Artisan was showing a vintage inspired Instax mini camera, hopefully slated for Q4 2025. We don't know a price yet, but it does look pretty cool. And it's also available in 4 colors. We've got silver here, and we also have blue, red, and orange. Continuing the affordable camera front on the Yashica stand, we've got a Hello Kitty branded model here with a fixed 35mm equivalent lens, 5 megapixel sensor. Or if you prefer, here's a new Snoopy version. I think these were sold in Urban Outfitters in the UK, or at least the Kitty version was. Approximately £100, or in Japan nearer to £70 or £80. Over at the Canon stand, all eyes were of course on the brand new PowerShot V1. Probably would have been the star of the show had Sigma not announced the BF body a couple of days earlier. But this is still a very, very exciting product for content creators and vloggers. We've got a 1.4-inch type CMOS sensor with 22 megapixels, roughly similar in height to Micro Four Thirds, but a bit wider. Dual pixel CMOS AF, which is the first time in a PowerShot camera. So that is going to give you hopefully more confident autofocus than the previous G7X series. There's also 3.1 times optical zoom, equivalent to 16 to 50mm, f2.8 to 4.5. It remains to be seen exactly what sort of shallow depth of field effects you can achieve, but here's the zoom range. Let's have a quick look at some of the menus. Here are the movie modes, and a built-in ND filter which you can set to auto or have it permanently set to on. It's really nice to have that built in. On the top is the accessory shoe. You'll notice that there's no flash sync pins, but you do have the electrical connections for more advanced accessories. Here are the built-in microphones, and you can shield these from noise with this accessory that slides onto the shoe. Here's how that looks from the top and from the front. You'll also see there is a control ring around the lens barrel, and that's customizable. On this side, the mode dial, a switch between movies and still, a record button, the shutter release, and a zoom rocker to operate the lens, and that is of course a fixed lens. The screen is fully articulated, so you can flip it round to any position, including forward to face you or back on itself for protection. On the side, a wide range of ports. We've got a microphone and headphone jack, USB-C and HDMI. Underneath the battery compartment, it takes an LPE17 battery pack, and this is also where you'll put your SD memory card for storage. Even with the battery fitted, it feels like a very light lens in your hands, although the build quality is nice, and I do like this rubber grip. You can hold it very, very comfortably. As a photographer, I would like a viewfinder on these kind of models. Sadly, Canon hasn't implemented one here, as it's more designed for content creators. And speaking of which, we've got this fan system here which draws air in through these ports and pumps it out at the top. Anyway, that's about all I can tell you for now. It is still only officially going to be available in Asia, although again I would be very surprised if we don't see it in other regions before too long. Fingers crossed, eh? Canon was also demonstrating some footage captured with its VR lenses. You're seeing it in 2D here, but I'm seeing it in 3D because I'm wearing these glasses, not a special goggle, and the quality was really good. You're not seeing it in 3D, but I am, and that R's coming right for me. Canon was also showing its mixed reality solution here, demonstrated this year with a fencing competition. These guys holding the masks in front of them can actually see a 3D representation of a fencing match. I had a go and it looked really realistic. You can move around them. You probably wouldn't use it so much for entertainment though. I think it's more for maybe industrial applications where you can see how something could fit into a space, for example. Over on the Sirui stand, we have got an anamorphic lens with autofocus. Let's see a demonstration of it. And you'll see it refocusing there.
Oh.
That is not a bad focus pull, is it?
I also haven't seen it really high too, so.
Ah, for those flare effects. If you want to live your J.J. Abrams fantasy, this is how you do it. Thank you for the demonstration. Check out this guy. He's come with rather a lot of cameras today. A very impressive setup. Dozo yoroshiku onegai shimasu. They're literally fighting over the new lenses here. And to Sony's stand, where they were showing two of their latest lenses. This is the 16mm f1.8G, and I've got a review of that. And here's the new 400 to 800mm, which has the longest reach in the current lineup. What I really like about this lens is it's an internal zoom, so as I turn this, you'll notice the barrel does not extend. And the throw is really short as well, which means you can very quickly get from one end to the other. And I found that really useful when I was photographing birds with this, and you can see my full review of this on the channel, so check that out if you're interested. Really nice lens. Sony was also showing its portable data transmitter solution. This is kind of like an adapted phone that you can use for very fast uploading to, say, FTP servers. Meanwhile, Sony's free creators app, which runs on your own phone, will also provide uploading and sharing solutions, including to various cloud services. Always fun to see a technology demonstration. This is IBIS working alongside an optical image stabilization unit. This is Sony's solution. This is the Sony XD Cam PXW-Z200. It's a high-end camcorder. I think it has a 1-inch class sensor inside it, and there is a G series zoom lens. I used to use a lot of cameras like these and I really enjoyed them. Would you like to see me review them? I don't really see many people doing them, so it's something that maybe I should look into. Let me know what you think in the comments. By far the biggest crowds at the show were for the Sigma BF. Look at this, all day long they have been queuing around the Sigma stand to see this unique new body. And I think for good reason too, because so many cameras look and feel the same these days, so whatever you think about the Sigma BF, it's certainly different looking. Hewn out of a single block of aluminium, it feels absolutely amazing. Those sharp edges can be a little bit uncomfortable to hold for prolonged periods, but there's no denying that you cannot put it down for long. It calls out to you to be used again and again. And over the past few days I've been using it, and I've actually really enjoyed the new user interface. Something that I fought a little bit at first, but now I really like the way it works. So the question that remains is whether the feature set will actually suit your needs. But it's really nice to have a product that's undoubtedly luxurious, that is reasonably affordable. It's a lot cheaper than a Leica, and it genuinely gives you something very, very different. It's so easy to be distracted by the BF camera that you could forget that Sigma also launched two new lenses this week. Here's one of them, the 16 to 300mm super zoom for APS-C bodies, available in Canon RF, Fujifilm X, and Sony E-mounts. I'm really looking forward to giving this one a full test. The second lens they announced this week is the 300 to 600mm f4 super telephoto zoom, available in L, and also Sony E-mounts. As I mentioned in my preview, it's a bit like having a 600 f4 prime that you can also zoom out to 300mm, so it's going to be very popular with wildlife and sports photographers. Can't wait to test that one too. And that's it for CP Plus 2025. I hope you enjoyed this short compilation of highlights from the show. It certainly bodes well for the photography show, which is in London in the UK in March, so maybe I'll see some of you there. Which have been your favourite products? Do let me know in the comments. And that only leaves me to explore the sunny delights of Yokohama, and of course to thank you for watching and see you later on. Domo arigatou gozaimasu, and mata ne!